The October wind blew cold across the Martinez farm as Jake finished feeding the horses. The sun had set an hour ago, painting the Montana sky in deep purple. Lisa was inside making dinner, the warm light from their kitchen window cutting through the darkness. Jake loved this time of day when the world felt quiet and peaceful. He was walking back to the house when something bright caught his eye. A streak of white light shot across the sky, much lower than any airplane he had ever seen. The light moved fast but seemed to wobble like it was having trouble staying in the air. Jake stopped walking and watched as the object grew bigger and brighter. "What the hell?" Jake said out loud. The object made a loud whistling sound as it passed overhead. Jake could feel heat from it even though it was high above him. The light was so bright it hurt his eyes. He raised his hand to block the glare and saw that whatever was flying was not a plane or helicopter. It looked round and smooth like a metal ball with lights all around it. The object crashed into his cornfield with a sound like thunder. The ground shook under Jake's feet. Dirt and cornstalks flew into the air. A bright flash lit up the whole farm for a second, then everything went dark and quiet again. Jake ran toward the house, calling for his wife. "Lisa! Lisa! Get out here!" The back door opened, and Lisa came running out. She was still wearing her pink scrubs from the hospital where she worked as a nurse. Her brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail and her face looked worried. "Jake, what was that noise? It sounded like a bomb went off." "Something crashed in the cornfield. I saw it come down. We need to call the police." Lisa grabbed his arm. "Wait, what if it was a plane? There might be people hurt in there." Jake looked toward the cornfield. He could see a faint orange glow coming from somewhere deep in the corn. "You're right. Get the medical kit from the barn. I'll get the flashlights." They met at the edge of the cornfield a few minutes later. Jake carried 2 big flashlights and Lisa had the medical kit they kept for injured animals. The corn was tall, almost over their heads, and the stalks were thick. They had to push through them to walk forward. "Stay close to me," Jake said. "I don't know what we're going to find in there." They followed the path of broken cornstalks, toward the orange glow. The air smelled like burned metal and something else Jake could not name. As they got closer, the glow got brighter. Soon they could see a round crater in the ground about 20 feet wide. In the middle of the crater sat a metal pod about the size of a small car. The pod was silver and smooth, with no windows or doors that Jake could see. Parts of it were still glowing red hot from the crash. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, symbols that looked like no language Jake had ever seen. The pod made a low humming sound that seemed to come from inside. "This is not a plane," Lisa whispered. Jake nodded. His mouth felt dry. "No, it's not." They stood at the edge of the crater for a long moment, not sure what to do. Then they heard a sound that made them both jump. It was a crying sound like a baby in pain. The sound was coming from inside the pod. "Did you hear that?" Lisa asked. "Yeah. It sounded like..." The crying came again, louder this time. Lisa started walking down into the crater before Jake could stop her. "Lisa, wait, it could be dangerous." But Lisa was already next to the pod looking for a way inside. The crying continued, and now Jake could hear that it was definitely the sound of something very young and very scared. "There's a crack here," Lisa called out. "I think I can see inside." Jake ran down into the crater to join her. The crack in the pod was about 2 feet long and wide enough for a person to look through. Lisa was on her knees, shining her flashlight inside. When Jake looked over her shoulder, he saw something that made his breath catch in his throat. Inside the pod was a baby, but not a human baby. The creature was about the same size as a human infant, but its skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. Its head was larger than a human baby's head, and its eyes were huge and dark. The baby was lying on what looked like a soft silver blanket, and it was crying with a sound that was almost human but not quite. "Oh my God," Lisa whispered. "It's just a baby." The alien infant looked up at them through the crack. Its big dark eyes were full of tears. It reached up with tiny hands that had long fingers and no thumb. The baby's crying got louder, and Jake could see that it was very thin. Too thin. "It's starving," Lisa said. "Look at it. It's dying." Jake stared at the alien baby. Everything, in his mind, told him to run, to call the police, to let someone else deal with this. But when he looked at those big dark eyes, he saw something he recognized. Fear. Hunger. The need for help. "We have to get it out of there," he said. Lisa was already looking for a way to make the crack bigger. "Help me with this. I think we can pull this piece of metal away." Working together, they managed to bend the metal enough to reach inside the pod. The alien baby stopped crying when Lisa's hands touched it. It looked up at her with those huge eyes and made a small sound like a kitten. "It's okay, little one," Lisa said, in the same voice she used with human babies at the hospital. "We're going to help you." She lifted the alien infant out of the pod. It was so light it felt like it weighed nothing. The baby's skin was warm to the touch, but Jake could feel how thin it was. The creature looked up at them both and tried to make a sound, but it was too weak. "We need to get it inside," Lisa said. "Right now." They climbed out of the crater and hurried back through the cornfield toward their house. The alien baby lay still in Lisa's arms, breathing fast and shallow. Jake could see that it was getting weaker. When they reached the house, Lisa went straight to the kitchen and sat down at the table with the baby in her arms. Jake locked the door and closed all the curtains. "What are we doing?" Jake asked. "This is crazy." Lisa looked down at the dying alien infant. "We're saving a life, that's what we're doing." The baby made another weak sound and closed its eyes. Jake could see that they did not have much time. Lisa held the alien baby close to her chest while Jake paced around the kitchen. The creature was so weak it could barely keep its eyes open. Its breathing was fast and shallow, like a sick animal fighting to stay alive. "We need to feed it something," Lisa said. "But what do aliens eat?" Jake stopped pacing and looked at the baby. "I don't know. Maybe it drinks milk like human babies?" "It's worth trying. Get the emergency baby formula from the closet, the one we keep for when your sister visits, with her kids." Jake ran to get the formula while Lisa examined the alien infant more closely. The baby's skin was still that strange pale blue color, but now she could see tiny veins underneath that glowed slightly. Its arms and legs were very thin, much thinner than they should be. The creature was definitely starving. When Jake came back with the formula, they mixed it with warm water just like they would for a human baby. Lisa tried to give the alien some formula with a small spoon, but the liquid just ran out of its mouth. The baby turned its head away and made a weak sound of rejection. "It's not working," Jake said. "Maybe aliens don't drink the same things as humans." Lisa wiped the formula from the baby's face. "Wait, let me try something else." She went to the refrigerator and got a bottle of goat milk that Jake used for sick animals. She warmed it up and tried again. This time the alien baby opened its mouth and took a small sip. Its big dark eyes looked up at Lisa with what seemed like hope. "Good," Lisa said softly. "That's good, little one." But after a few more sips, the baby pushed the milk away and started making distressed sounds. Its thin body shook like it was in pain. Jake watched with growing worry. "Something's wrong, the milk is making it sick." Lisa set the bottle down and thought hard. She had been a pediatric nurse for 10 years and had seen many sick babies. She knew the signs of malnutrition and dehydration. But this was different. This was an alien and she had no idea what its body needed. "What if it needs something we don't have?" Jake asked. "What if we can't save it?" Lisa looked down at the dying baby in her arms. The creature was looking up at her with those huge eyes, and she could see intelligence there. This was not just an animal. This was someone's child, lost and alone and far from home. "We're not giving up," she said firmly. "You're a vet, Jake. You've saved plenty of animals that were almost dead. Think, what would you do if this was a sick calf or foal?" Jake rubbed his face with his hands. "I'd check its blood, see what it was missing. But I can't take this thing to my clinic. People would see it." "Then bring your equipment here." Jake stared at her. "You want me to bring veterinary equipment into our kitchen? This baby is going to die if we don't figure out what it needs right now." Jake looked at the alien infant again. The creature was getting weaker by the minute. Its breathing was more labored and its skin was starting to look gray instead of blue. "Okay," he said. I'll get some basic testing equipment from the clinic. But if anyone asks, we're treating a sick animal out here. Jake left for his veterinary clinic while Lisa stayed with the baby. She wrapped it in soft blankets and kept it warm against her body. The alien made small sounds that reminded her of a kitten trying to meow. She found herself talking to it like she would any baby. It's okay, little one. Jake is going to help. We're going to figure out what you need. The baby seemed to respond to her voice. It stopped making distressed sounds and just looked up at her. Lisa could swear it was trying to communicate something, but she had no idea what. When Jake returned with his medical bag, he set up a small workspace on the kitchen table. I brought equipment to test blood and check basic body functions, but I've never worked on anything like this before. Just do your best, Lisa said. Jake carefully took a tiny blood sample from the alien baby. The blood was not red like human blood. It was a pale silver color that seemed to glow slightly. Jake ran it through his portable testing machine while Lisa kept the baby calm. This is incredible, Jake said, reading the results. Its blood chemistry is similar to humans, but different. It needs much higher levels of certain minerals. Iron, magnesium, and something else I can't identify. Can you make a supplement? Jake nodded. I think so. I have mineral supplements. For animals that might work, but I'll have to guess at the dosage. He mixed a small amount of mineral powder with goat milk and water. The mixture turned slightly green, which worried both of them. But when Lisa offered it to the baby, the alien drank eagerly. For the first time since they found it, the creature seemed satisfied. Over the next hour, the baby's condition improved dramatically. Its skin returned to that pale blue color and its breathing became steady. The alien even began to make different sounds, more like curious babbling than distressed crying. I think we did it, Lisa said with relief. I think it's going to be okay. Jake sat down heavily in a chair. What have we gotten ourselves into, Lisa? This is an alien baby. What are we supposed to do with it? Lisa looked down at the small creature in her arms. The baby was looking around the kitchen with bright, alert eyes. It seemed fascinated by everything it saw. When it looked at Lisa, it made a soft sound that sounded almost like it was trying to say hello. We take care of it, she said simply. At least until we figure out where it came from. But what if people find out? What if the government comes, looking for it? Lisa thought about this. She knew Jake was right to be worried. But when she looked at the alien baby, all she could see was a child who needed them. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But right now, this baby needs us. And I'm not going to abandon it. Jake looked at his wife holding the alien infant. In all their years of marriage, he had never seen her look so determined. He knew there was no point in arguing with her when she got that look. Okay, he said, but we need to be careful, and we need to give it a name. Lisa smiled down at the baby. How about Alex? It works for any gender. The alien baby made a happy sound when it heard the name as if it approved. Alex it is, Jake said. Outside, the wind continued to blow across their farm. But inside their warm kitchen, a new family was beginning to form. 6 months had passed since Jake and Lisa found the alien baby in their cornfield. Alex had grown from a dying infant into a healthy, curious child. He was now the size of a human 1-year-old, but his abilities were far beyond what any human baby could do. Alex could walk steadily on his long legs and climb onto furniture with ease. His pale blue skin had become brighter and healthier. His large, dark eyes seemed to understand everything that happened around him. Most amazing of all, Alex had learned to communicate with Jake and Lisa using a series of clicks, whistles, and hand gestures that the couple had slowly begun to understand. Lisa sat at the kitchen table feeding Alex his morning meal. The alien child ate a mixture of goat milk, mineral supplements, and mashed vegetables that Jake had developed through careful testing. Alex made happy clicking sounds as he ate, occasionally looking up at Lisa and making what she had learned was his way of saying thank you. Good morning, Alex, Lisa said, wiping food from his face. Did you sleep well? Alex responded with a series of soft whistles that Lisa interpreted as yes. The alien child had his own room now, with a crib that Jake had modified to be stronger. Alex was much stronger than human babies and had broken regular furniture when he was smaller. Jake came into the kitchen carrying his coffee and the morning newspaper. "How's our boy today?" Alex turned toward Jake and made excited clicking sounds. He reached out his long arms, wanting to be picked up. Jake lifted the alien child, and Alex immediately began examining Jake's watch, something that fascinated him every morning. "He's getting too smart," Jake said. "Yesterday I caught him trying to take apart the radio in the barn. He almost had it figured out." Lisa nodded with concern. "And he's getting stronger too. Remember last week when he bent those metal spoons?" They had discovered that Alex possessed physical abilities far beyond human children. He could lift objects that should have been too heavy for him, and his grip was strong enough to dent metal. More concerning was that Alex seemed to sense electrical fields. He would point at power lines and electronic devices before anyone else could see them. Jake's phone rang, interrupting their conversation. The caller ID showed his brother Pete's name. Pete was the local sheriff and had been asking uncomfortable questions lately about why Jake and Lisa had become so private. "Morning." "Pete," Jake answered. "Hey Jake, I need to ask you something. Mrs. Patterson called yesterday. She says she's been hearing strange noises coming from your property at night. Sounds like animal calls she's never heard before." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Mrs. Patterson was their closest neighbor, and her farm was half a mile away. If she could hear Alex making sounds at night, they had a problem. "I haven't heard anything unusual," Jake lied. "Maybe it's coyotes." "Maybe. But she also mentioned seeing weird lights near your cornfield, blue lights that move around. You know, anything about that?" Jake looked at Alex, who was now staring at the phone with intense interest. The alien child had developed a habit of glowing slightly when he was excited or curious. At night, this glow was more visible. "No idea about any lights, Pete. You know, how people see things that aren't there sometimes." "Yeah, maybe. But Jake, you and Lisa have been acting strange for months. You used to come into town every week, now we hardly see you. And when we do see you, you're always in a hurry to get home." "We've just been busy with farm work." Pete was quiet for a moment. "Look, Jake, if something's wrong, you can tell me. Are you guys having money problems, health issues? I'm your brother, I want to help." "Everything's fine, Pete, I promise." After Jake hung up, he and Lisa looked at each other with worry. Alex seemed to sense their tension and made concerned whistling sounds. "We can't keep this secret much longer," Lisa said. "People are starting to notice." Jake picked up the newspaper, and his face went pale. On the front page was a headline that made his blood run cold. "Government scientists investigate unusual energy readings in rural Montana." The article was short but troubling. It mentioned that satellites had detected anomalous electromagnetic signatures in their area 6 months ago. A team of federal investigators was being sent to check for possible radioactive materials or crashed military equipment. "They're coming," Jake said, showing Lisa the article. Lisa read quickly, her face growing worried. "How long do we have?" "The article says the investigation team arrives next week." Alex must have understood that something was wrong because he climbed down from Jake's lap and went to Lisa. He put his small hands on her face and made comforting sounds, as if trying to make her feel better. Lisa hugged the alien child close. "What are we going to do? We can't let them take Alex." Jake started pacing around the kitchen. "We need a plan. Maybe we could take Alex somewhere else. Go camping in the mountains until this blows over." "For how long? And what if they search the whole area?" "Alex glows at night, Jake. They'll find him." As if responding to his name, Alex began to glow slightly. But this time something different happened. The alien child looked directly at Jake and Lisa, then made a series of complex sounds they had never heard before. The sounds were clearly language, but not the simple clicks and whistles Alex usually made. "Did you hear that?" Lisa whispered. That sounded like he was trying to say words. Real words. Alex tried again, and this time Jake and Lisa could almost make out what he was saying. It sounded like he was trying to say danger and hide. "He understands," Jake said with amazement. "He knows we're in trouble." Alex nodded his large head and pointed toward the window, then made the hand gesture they had learned meant bad people coming. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. "He's trying to warn us. This little guy is trying to protect us." Over the next few days, Jake and Lisa noticed that Alex was changing in more ways than just his language attempts. The alien child seemed more alert and watchful. He would go to windows and look outside for long periods as if watching for something. At night he glowed less brightly, as if he had learned to control it. Most remarkable of all, Alex began showing them things. He would take their hands and lead them to different parts of the house, pointing at electrical outlets, the telephone, and the radio. He seemed to be studying how human technology worked. "It's like he's preparing for something," Lisa told Jake. One evening as they watched Alex examine their television remote control, Jake nodded. "Or someone. What if Alex knows something we don't? What if whoever crashed him here is looking for him?" Lisa hadn't thought of that possibility, but it made sense. Alex had come from somewhere. Someone must be missing him. As they put Alex to bed that night, the alien child looked up at them with his large dark eyes and made the soft whistling sound that meant, "Love you." It was something he had started doing recently, and it never failed to touch their hearts. "We love you too, Alex," Lisa whispered, tucking him into his modified crib. But as she turned off the light, Lisa noticed something that made her freeze. Outside Alex's bedroom window, she could see a faint light moving through their cornfield. It wasn't the steady light of a flashlight or car headlight. It was a blue glow that pulsed and moved in patterns that seemed almost like communication. Someone was out there, and they were looking for something. The alien leader continued to hold Alex while more of their kind entered the Martinez house. There were 5 aliens total, all tall and graceful with that same blue glow. They moved around the living room, examining everything with curious eyes, but touching nothing. Agent Davis stood frozen in the corner, still trying to process what she was seeing. Her radio equipment remained dead, and she seemed to realize that she was completely out of her depth. Alex squirmed in the alien leader's arms and pointed back toward Jake and Lisa. He made urgent clicking sounds that seemed to be explaining something important to his alien family. The leader listened carefully, then looked at the human couple with what seemed like deep interest. When it spoke in their minds again, its mental voice carried a tone of respect. "The child tells us remarkable things. He says you fed him when he was starving. You kept him warm when he was cold. You sang to him when he was afraid." Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. "He was just a baby. Any parent would have done the same thing." "No," the alien said firmly. "Not any parent. Many of your kind would have been afraid. Many would have called your authorities or tried to use the child for gain. You chose to love instead." Another alien stepped forward, smaller than the leader but with intricate patterns glowing under its skin. When it spoke in their minds, its voice felt different, more emotional. "I am the child's birth parent. When our ship was damaged, we had to choose which pod to save. We could only hope that if the child survived the crash, someone would care for him until we could return." Jake felt his throat tighten. "You're his mother?" "In your terms, yes. And I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You gave my child life when I could not." Alex looked back and forth between his two families, making soft sounds that seemed sad. Lisa could see that the alien child understood he would have to choose between them. Agent Davis finally found her voice. "This is incredible, but I have to think about national security. The government needs to know about this contact." The alien leader turned those large, dark eyes toward her. "Your government will know, but not in the way you expect." "What do you mean?" Before the alien could answer, Alex climbed down from his birth parent's arms and walked to the center of the room. The small alien child looked at everyone present, then began to glow brighter than ever before. But this time the light was different. It pulsed in patterns that seemed like language. Suddenly, Jake and Lisa could understand not just the alien leader's mental voice, but all of the aliens in the room. Alex was somehow translating for everyone, creating a bridge between the two species. "This is impossible," Agent Davis whispered. "He's just a child," Alex's birth parent explained, speaking now in words that everyone could hear clearly. "Our children are born with the ability to learn any language, even mental communication. Alex has learned your human ways of thinking. He can help our peoples understand each other." The alien leader stepped closer to Jake and Lisa. This is why we must make an unusual proposal. The child belongs to both our worlds now. He has learned love from humans and wisdom from his own kind. We believe he could be the first bridge between our species." "What are you saying?" Lisa asked. "We want to establish a secret contact between our peoples. Alex would live with both families, learning from both cultures. When he is older, he could help negotiate peaceful relations between humans and our kind." Agent Davis shook her head. "The government would never allow this. There are protocols, procedures. This needs to be handled officially." The alien leader looked at her with what might have been amusement. "Your government will allow it because it will be in their best interest. We have much to offer humanity. Medicine that could cure your diseases. Technology that could solve your energy problems. But we will only share these gifts if we can trust your species." "And Alex would be proof of that trust?" Jake asked. "Alex would be proof that humans can love without fear, that you can accept what is different instead of trying to control it." Lisa knelt down beside Alex, who was still glowing softly. "What do you want, sweetie? What would make you happy?" Alex looked up at her with those large, dark eyes and spoke in perfect English, his first clear human words. "I want both families. I want to stay with Mama Lisa and Papa Jake, but also learn from my birth people." Everyone in the room was quiet for a moment. The alien child had spoken for himself, and his choice was clear. Agent Davis realized she was witnessing something that would change human history. "If I report this, there will be chaos, fear, people trying to capture Alex or hurt him." The alien leader nodded. "This is why the contact must remain secret for now. You must choose, Agent Davis. Will you help protect this child and this opportunity, or will you destroy it?" Agent Davis looked at Alex, then at Jake and Lisa, then at the peaceful aliens who had traveled across space to find their lost child. She thought about her duty to her government, but she also thought about what was right. "I'll classify this as a non-event," she said finally. "My report will say we found nothing unusual here, but I want to be kept informed about any developments." The alien leader seemed pleased. "You will be. In fact, we would like you to be our primary contact with your government when the time comes for official relations." Over the next hour, they worked out a plan. Alex would spend most of his time with Jake and Lisa on the farm, living as their adopted son. But every few weeks, his alien family would visit to teach him about his birth culture and abilities. When Alex was older and the world was more ready, he would help introduce the two species officially. Jake looked around their living room, which now contained both humans and aliens working together on a plan for peace. 6 months ago, he had been a simple veterinarian worried about feeding his animals. Now he was part of the most important secret in human history. Alex ran to Jake and hugged his legs. "Papa Jake, are you happy?" Jake picked up the alien child who had become his son. "Yes, Alex, I'm very happy." Lisa joined the embrace, and for a moment it was just the three of them, a family that no one could have imagined. Outside, the alien ships prepared to leave, but they would return. And each time they did, the bond between two very different species would grow stronger. Years later, when first contact was finally announced to the world, people would learn that it had all started with two humans who chose to save a dying alien baby. Their simple act of love had changed the course of history for both species, proving that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can have the biggest impact on the universe. Lisa woke up to the sound of Alex crying in distress. It was 3 in the morning, and the alien child was making sounds she had never heard before. They were not his usual clicks and whistles, but deep, frightened wails that seemed to shake the whole house. She ran to Alex's room and found him standing in his crib, pointing toward the window. His pale blue skin was glowing brighter than she had ever seen it, and his large dark eyes were wide with fear. "Jake!" Lisa called out. "Something's wrong with Alex." Jake rushed into the room wearing only his pajama pants. When he saw Alex, he stopped in shock. The alien child was not just glowing. He was pulsing with light in a steady rhythm like a beacon. "What's happening to him?" Jake asked. Alex turned toward them and tried to speak. The words came out broken and hard to understand, but Jake and Lisa could make out what he was trying to say. They come here, now. Outside, they could hear the sound of vehicles approaching their house, multiple engines moving slowly up their long driveway. Jake looked out the window and saw 3 black cars with government license plates pulling up to their front door. "The investigation team," Jake said. "They're here." But Alex shook his head violently and pointed toward the back of the house. "No, not them. My people." Lisa felt her heart skip a beat. "Your people? You mean other aliens?" Alex nodded and made urgent clicking sounds. He was trying to tell them something important, but his fear was making it hard for him to communicate. The front doorbell rang. Jake and Lisa looked at each other with panic. They had government agents at their front door and aliens somewhere on their property, and Alex was glowing like a lighthouse. "Take Alex to the basement," Jake whispered. "I'll deal with whoever's at the door." Lisa picked up the frightened alien child and carried him downstairs to their basement. Alex's glow dimmed slightly in the darkness, but he continued to make worried sounds. Lisa held him close and tried to keep him calm. Upstairs, Jake opened the front door to find a tall woman in a dark suit holding an official-looking badge. "Mr. Martinez, I'm Agent Carol Davis with the Department of Energy. We're investigating some unusual readings in this area. May I come in?" Jake tried to look confused. "Unusual readings? I don't understand." Agent Davis stepped inside without waiting for permission. She was carrying a device that looked like a metal detector, and it was making steady beeping sounds. 6 months ago, our satellites detected a significant energy event on your property. We believe something may have crashed here, possibly containing radioactive materials. The device in her hand started beeping faster as she moved through the house. Jake realized it was detecting Alex's energy signature, even from the basement. "I don't know anything about a crash," Jake said. "Maybe you should check with my neighbors." "Agent." Davis stopped walking and looked directly at Jake. "Mr. Martinez, this device is telling me that whatever we're looking for is in this house right now." In the basement, Lisa heard footsteps above and knew they were in serious trouble. Alex seemed to understand too, because he stopped glowing completely and became very still in her arms. Suddenly, a bright light filled the basement from outside. Lisa looked through the small basement window and saw a large silver craft hovering silently above their cornfield. The craft was beautiful and smooth, with no visible engines or wings. It glowed with the same pale blue light as Alex's skin. Alex saw the craft and became very excited. He started making rapid clicking sounds and pointing toward the window. Lisa could tell he recognized the ship. "Your family?" she whispered. Alex nodded and made a sound that meant yes in his alien language. Upstairs, Agent Davis's device was now beeping so fast it sounded like a fire alarm. She pulled out a radio and spoke into it quickly. "Control, this is Davis. I've found the source, requesting immediate backup at the Martinez farm." Jake knew he was out of time. "Look, Agent Davis, I think there's something you should know." But before he could say more, every electronic device in the house shut off. The lights went out, Agent Davis's radio went dead, and even Jake's digital watch stopped working. Outside, they could hear car engines dying. Through the front window, Jake could see 3 tall figures walking toward the house. They moved smoothly and silently, and they glowed with the same blue light as Alex. The aliens were humanoid but taller than humans, with long limbs and large heads. They wore no clothing, but their skin seemed to shimmer like metal. Agent Davis saw them too and reached for her gun, but the weapon would not fire. Nothing electrical or mechanical was working. "What are they?" she whispered. One of the aliens approached the front door, but instead of knocking, it seemed to speak directly into Jake's mind. The voice was calm and gentle, like Alex's clicking, sounds but translated into human thoughts. "We have come for the child. We mean no harm." Jake felt strangely calm, as if the alien's mental voice was soothing his fear. "Are you Alex's parents?" "The child is precious to us. We have traveled far to find him." In the basement, Alex was becoming more excited. He wiggled out of Lisa's arms and ran toward the stairs, making happy clicking sounds. Lisa followed him, knowing there was no point in hiding anymore. When they reached the living room, Alex ran straight toward the tall aliens at the front door. The largest alien knelt down and Alex rushed into its arms. The reunion was clearly emotional, even though Lisa could not understand the alien sounds they were making. Agent Davis stared in shock. "This is impossible. You've been hiding an alien?" The alien holding Alex looked at Lisa and Jake, and again they heard its voice in their minds. "You saved our child. You fed him when he was dying. You gave him love when he was alone." Lisa stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "We couldn't let him die. He was just a baby." The alien's large head tilted slightly as if it was surprised by her words. "You risked much to save one who was not of your kind." Jake nodded. "He's been our son for 6 months. We love him." Alex looked back and forth between his alien family and his human parents. He seemed torn, making sounds to both groups as if trying to explain something important. The alien leader listened to Alex's clicking sounds, then looked at Jake and Lisa with what seemed like amazement. "The child says you taught him love. He says you are his family too." Agent Davis found her voice. "I need to report this. First contact with an alien species is the most important event in human history." The alien looked at her with those large, dark eyes. "Perhaps. But first we must decide what is best for the child." Outside, more alien ships were landing in the cornfield. The blue glow from their craft lit up the entire farm like daylight. Jake realized that nothing would ever be the same again. But when he looked at Alex, still glowing softly in the arms of his alien parent, Jake felt something he had not expected: hope.